Once upon a time, in a distant village nestled between the misty mountains of a vast African kingdom, there lived a man named Kofi. Kofi was known throughout the land for his greed, arrogance, and cruelty. He would often take what wasn't his, from the village's harvest to the personal belongings of his fellow villagers. He cared for nothing but his own desires, and no one dared to challenge him, for he had the might of a warrior and the cunning of a fox. The elders of the village, wise and old, often spoke in hushed tones about the ways of the gods and how they saw everything, even the deeds of the wicked. The gods have eyes everywhere, they would say. They reward the good and punish the wicked. No one, no matter how strong, can escape the consequences of their actions. But Kofi, being a man of arrogance, laughed at such tales. The gods do not concern themselves with petty human affairs, he would scoff. I have all I need, and no god or spirit can take it from me. One day, the village was struck by a great famine. Crops failed, and the river that once flowed with abundance became a mere trickle. The villagers, many of whom depended on the harvest for their survival, grew desperate. Kofi, however, hoarded his food, locking it away in his large hut, unwilling to share even a single grain with his fellow villagers. As time passed, the famine grew worse, and the elders warned the villagers to be careful of their actions. Help one another, and the gods will bless you, they urged. But Kofi, still consumed by greed, cared only for his own survival and made no efforts to aid those around him. Then, one night, a mysterious traveler arrived in the village. Cloaked in a robe of deep purple and bearing a staff carved with strange symbols, the traveler went straight to Kofi's hut. The villagers, curious and afraid, watched from their doorways as the traveler approached the man whose cruelty had known no bounds. "Old man," said the traveler in a voice that seemed to echo across the land, "I have come to see you. I have heard much about your ways." Kofi, who was sitting by a fire, looked up and sneered. "And what of it? Who are you to come into my home and speak to me in such a manner?" The traveler's eyes gleamed with an ancient wisdom. "I am one who has seen the suffering of this world, the imbalance caused by greed, and the havoc it wreaks on the souls of men. You have taken more than your share, Kofi. You have robbed the poor, and you have shown no mercy to those in need. Your heart is heavy with wickedness." Kofi, unbothered, stood up and grabbed his spear. "If you have come to warn me, then leave now, before I send you to the gods myself." The traveler did not flinch. "I did not come to warn you, Kofi. I came to show you what awaits those who walk the path of wickedness. Your actions will be your undoing. No peace will come to you. The gods are watching, and their judgment is not kind." With a wave of his hand, the traveler turned to leave, but Kofi, blinded by rage, lunged at him with his spear. However, just before the tip of the spear could reach the traveler, the man vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a faint scent of incense and a lingering sense of dread. Kofi's heart raced as he stared into the empty space where the traveler had stood. He laughed nervously, trying to convince himself that it was nothing but an illusion. "A foolish old man trying to scare me," he muttered. But from that moment onward, strange things began to happen. The food Kofi had hoarded began to spoil, even though it was untouched. His prized cattle grew thin and weak, despite his care. The villagers, once afraid of him, now spoke openly of his greed, and their whispers seemed to follow him wherever he went. No matter how much he tried to escape it, there was no peace. Days turned into weeks, and Kofi grew restless. He could not sleep, for the spirit of the land seemed to torment him with visions of his past misdeeds. The laughter of children in the village felt like mockery. The birds sang songs of retribution, and even the wind seemed to whisper his name, calling him to face the consequences of his wicked ways. One evening, when Kofi could no longer bear the weight of his guilt and the torment of his conscience, he sought out the elders of the village. They had always warned him, and now he hoped they could offer him some reprieve. "I have done done terrible things, Kofi confessed, kneeling before the elders. I have taken what wasn't mine, and I have caused suffering. Please, tell me what I can do to make things right. The eldest elder, a woman named Nia, looked at him with sad eyes. There is no easy path for the wicked, Kofi. The gods have seen your actions, and the balance must be restored. If you truly seek peace, you must make amends for the harm you have caused. Only then will the gods look upon you with mercy. Kofi nodded, understanding that there was no escape from the consequences of his choices. He began by sharing the food he had hoarded, offering it to those who had suffered alongside him. He walked the land with the villagers, helping to restore what had been taken. Slowly, the village began to heal, and the famine's grip loosened. However, no matter how much Kofi tried, the torment of his past actions could never be erased. The spirits of the land, the whispers in the wind, and the restless dreams never ceased. He had taken too much, and the weight of his greed would follow him until the end of his days. He had learned, too late, that no one could escape the judgment of the gods. There was, indeed, no peace for the wicked. And so, Kofi lived out the remainder of his days in quiet penance, knowing that no matter how much good he did, the past would forever haunt him. The village, though, flourished, for the people had learned from his downfall. They lived in harmony, sharing what they had and treating each other with kindness, understanding that greed would only lead to misery. And in the end, they found the peace that Kofi could never attain.